Have you ever felt that people didn't really appreciate you? Like sometimes when you've worked real hard to mow the lawn and trim along the walk and weed the flower beds, and then you've raked it all up so it looks perfect. And what you really want is for somebody to come along and say, "Hey kid, that yard looks beautiful." But then somebody says, "You missed a spot over there. Couldn't you just scream?" Or when you've worked real hard on a drawing or a painting and you think it looks great, and you show it to somebody and they say, "That's nice." Don't you feel kind of, well, cheated? What you need is a blue moose. Really, a blue moose. A blue moose can make people appreciate your true value. One of my favorite writers is Daniel Mannes Pinkwater, and he's written 2 books about a blue moose, and this is the first one, Blue Moose. And I like that title because it's exactly what it's about. It's about a blue moose and a man named Mr. Breton who runs a restaurant.
Mr. Breton had a little restaurant on the edge of the big woods. There was nothing north of Mr. Breton's house except nothing, with trees in between. When winter came, the north wind blew through the trees and froze everything solid, and then it would snow. Mr. Breton didn't like it. Mr. Breton was a very good cook, and every day people from the town came to his restaurant. They ate gallons of his special clam chowder. They ate plates of his special beef stew. They ate fish stew and Mr. Breton's special homemade bread. The people from the town never talked much, and they never said anything about his cooking.
"Did you like your clam chowder?"
Mr. Breton would ask.
Yeah?
The people from the town would say. Well, Mr. Breton wished they would say,
"Oh, delicious," or "A good chowder, Breton."
all they ever said was,
Yeah?
and in the winter they came on skis and snowshoes. Well, every morning Mr. Breton went out behind his house to get firewood. And he wore 3 sweaters, a scarf, galoshes, a woolen hat, a big checkered coat, and mittens. And he still felt cold. Sometimes animals came out of the woods to watch Mr. Breton. Raccoons and rabbits came. The cold didn't bother them. But it bothered Mr. Breton even more when they watched him. One morning there was a moose in Mr. Breton's yard. It was a blue moose. And when Mr. Breton went out his back door, the moose was there, looking at him. After a while, Mr. Breton went back in, closed the door, and made a pot of coffee while he waited for the moose to go away. It didn't go away. It just stood in Mr. Breton's yard, looking at his back door. Mr. Breton drank a cup of coffee. The moose stood in the yard. Mr. Breton opened the door again.
"Shoo! Yeah, go away." "Do you mind if I come in and get warm?"
The moose said.
"I'm just about frozen."
The moose brushed past him and walked into the kitchen, his antlers almost touching the ceiling. The moose sat down on the floor next to Mr. Breton's stove. He closed his eyes and sat leaning toward the stove for a long time. Mr. Breton stood in the kitchen looking at the moose, and the moose didn't move. Wisps of steam began to rise from his blue fur. After a long time, the moose sighed. It sounded like a foghorn.
Can I get you a cup of coffee?
Mr. Breton asked the moose.
Or some clam chowder?
"Oh, clam chowder," said the moose. Mr. Breton filled a bowl with creamy clam chowder and set it on the floor. The moose dipped his big nose into the bowl and snuffled up the chowder. He made sort of a slurping, whistling noise.
"Oh, sir, this is wonderful clam chowder."
Mr. Breton blushed a very deep red.
Do you really mean that? "Sir, I have eaten some very good chowder in my time, and yours is the very best." "Oh, my,"
said Mr. Breton, blushing even redder.
"Oh, my, would you like some more?"
"Oh, yes, with crackers," said the moose. The moose ate 17 bowls of chowder with crackers. Then he had 12 pieces of hot gingerbread and 48 cups of coffee. While the moose slurped and whistled, Mr. Breton just sat in a chair. Every now and then he said to himself,
Oh my, the best he's ever eaten. Oh my.
Later, when some people from town came to Mr. Breton's house, the moose met them at the door.
How many in your party, please?
The moose asked.
I have a table for you, please. Follow me.
The people from the town were surprised to see the moose. They felt like running away, but they were too surprised. The moose led them to a table, brought them menus, looked at each person, snorted, and clumped into the kitchen.
There are some people outside. I will take care of them,
he told Mr. Breton. The people were whispering to one another about the moose when he clumped back to the table.
Are you ready to order?
The people from the town said. They waited for the moose to ask them if they would like some chowder, the way Mr. Breton always did. But the moose just stared at them as though they were very foolish. The people felt uncomfortable.
We'll have the clam chowder. Chaudière de clam, very good. Do you desire crackers or homemade bread? We'll have crackers, said the people from the town. I suggest you have the bread. It is hot. Then we'll have the bread, said the people from the town. And for dessert, will you have fresh gingerbread or apple jaquette? Oh, what do you recommend? After the chaudière de clam, the gingerbread is the best. Thank you, said the people from the town. It is my pleasure to serve you, said the moose. And the moose brought bowls of chowder balanced on his antlers. At the end of the meal, the moose clumped to the table. Has everything been to your satisfaction? Said the people from the town. Their mouths were full of gingerbread. I beg your pardon. What did you say? It was very good, said the people from the town. It was the best we've ever eaten. Then I will tell the chef, said the moose.
Well, now that Mr. Breton has met the Blue Moose, things are much better. And you can bet that the people who come into the restaurant for food appreciate it a lot more. Well, that's not to say there aren't some problems. For instance, the game warden tries to make trouble, but I'll let you read about that yourself in Blue Moose. Because now I want to introduce you to the second book, Return of the Moose. Now, the next time the moose comes to see Mr. Breton, he's quite changed. He's become very creative, and Mr. Breton is very surprised when the moose asks to borrow a typewriter.
The next morning, when Mr. Breton was preparing things in the kitchen, at the time when the moose usually stayed in bed, Mr. Breton heard the clicking of a typewriter from the moose's room. The moose typed slowly, one click at a time. He kept it up for more than an hour. At the time when the moose usually came downstairs for his soup bowl of coffee and 15 or 20 pieces of gingerbread, he was still clicking away on the typewriter. Mr. Breton put the soup bowl of coffee and 15 or 20 pieces of gingerbread on a tray and carried it upstairs. He knocked softly on the door in the moose's room.
Come in,
said the Blue Moose. Mr. Breton went in. The moose was sitting in bed with the typewriter balanced on his knees, and surrounding him were stacks of paper with writing in long hoof. There was also a pile of neatly typed pages. The moose was reading from the sheets of paper written in long hoof and typing what he read. I hope my typing does not disturb you. If it bothers you while you're cooking, I could type at another time. Oh, no, not at all. I like the sound of the typing. It reminds me of drops of rain falling on the roof. I just thought you might like it if I brought your coffee and gingerbread to you. Thank you very much. That was most considerate. I don't suppose you want to tell me what you're writing? Not at this time. From that time on, every morning, the moose typed in his room while Mr. Breton worked in the kitchen. Every morning, Mr. Breton brought a soup bowl of coffee and 15 or 20 pieces of gingerbread to the moose. And every morning, Mr. Breton said, "How's it going today?" "Just fine," the moose would say. "I don't suppose you want to tell me what you're writing," Mr. Breton would say. Not at this time," the moose would say. Mr. Breton would go back to the kitchen. For a while, there would be no sound of typing as the moose slurped up his soup bowl of coffee and ate his 15 or 20 pieces of gingerbread. Then the clicking would start again, reminding Mr. Breton of drops of rain falling on the roof. Mr. Breton was very curious about what the Blue Moose was writing, But whenever he asked the moose would say, not at this time. Well, one morning when Mr. Breton came down to begin work in the kitchen, he found the blue moose standing and staring out of the kitchen window.
You're up early.
The moose said nothing.
No typing this morning?
The moose said nothing.
Coffee?
The moose said nothing.
You're not mad at me, are you?
The moose said nothing. Mr. Breton set about making a big pot of coffee. When it was ready, he said,
Moose, come and have some coffee?
The moose sighed. Now, when a moose sighs, it's always very expressive. And this sigh was even more expressive than usual. It made the dishes in the cupboards rattle and clatter. It made the windows in the stovepipe rattle and buzz. It made two flies who'd been circling near the ceiling stop, listen, and forget to move their wings and fall onto the floor. It made little ripples in the coffee in Mr. Breton's cup and in the soup bowl he had filled for the moose.
Is something bothering you?
The moose sighed again, and the dishes rattled, and the windows in the stovepipe buzzed, and two flies looked at each other and began crawling toward the kitchen door, and little waves appeared on the surface of the coffee.
Oh, an artist's life is hard, the chef, hard. Yeah, I suppose it is. Is that why you were sighing? My work, my life, my masterpiece, everything has gone sour. It seemed to be going so well, and now a disaster. Does this have something to do with all the typing you've been doing? Oh, why am I punished like this? Why am I punished like this?
Then the moose clumped upstairs. Mr. Breton heard the bed springs crash and groan as the moose hurled himself onto the bed. Well, that day the moose did not come downstairs to help Mr. Breton. Mr. Breton had to do all the cooking and wait on the customers. The moose stayed in his bed all day with a newspaper over his head. Every now and then, when things weren't too busy in the restaurant, Mr. Breton would go upstairs and peek into the moose's room. The blue moose sat on his bed with a newspaper covering his head and said nothing. After the last customer had gone, Mr. Breton brought the moose a big bowl of beef stew with turnips.
Just leave it on the table,
the moose said. The moose stayed in bed with a newspaper over his head for 5 days. Mr. Bobowitz, the game warden, and Dave the hermit came in to visit the moose, but he wouldn't talk to them. He just sat in bed with a newspaper covering his head. Every now and then the moose would sigh and frighten the customers in the restaurant. Mr. Breton was worried about the moose. At night, he would sit in a chair beside the moose's bed, but the moose wouldn't talk to him.
Well, I can tell you now that the moose wrote a very exciting story, and it makes for very good reading. And you'll find it right in the middle of this book, Return of the Moose by Daniel Pinkwater. And while you're at the library, look for the first book I talked about, Blue Moose, also by Daniel Mannes Pinkwater.